This lesson is to show you how to design a long sleeve woven shirt, and you can see a few examples up here of some long sleeve woven shirts for men, and that's what we're going to be designing today on the men's croquis figure. I just want to reference some of these photos to show you how long they usually are, and then also the fact that they have what's called a shirt tail hem, which is a rounded curved hem that's kind of a little higher on the sides and dips down and is a curved angle at the lower part of the shirt. And then just an up close view of what the collar looks like. So it's a top, this is called the top collar. It's a pointed collar and on both sides, and then it has a center front button placket with stitching and a collar stand. This is an interior view of what a flat garment would look like, which is what we're going to be designing, which is a flat without the body in it. So you get to see a little bit of the inside neck coming through, and then a little idea to show you what the back view looks like, because we will be working on that. Has a back yoke and some placket, sleeve placket details here. What long sleeve woven shirts are traditionally found in solid stripes, plaids, all different types of material, and they are normally a non-stretchy fabric, commonly, but some do have stretch in them. But traditionally, what makes them classified as woven is that they're not a stretchy material like a t-shirt would be. So that's why it's classified as woven. Okay, so let's get started. So at this point, you should have your men's croquis figure saved on layer 2, locked as we begin each lesson to draw over top of it. And then my students that are taking my class should have this body shape right here from the zip hoodie CAD number 2 lesson. I asked you guys to save this right here before you turned it into a hoodie, because we are going to use this template, this long sleeve body template, to start our long sleeve woven shirt. So if you have that, please, hopefully you do, you're going to just move it over to the men's croquis figure. We are doing this on the men's croquis figure, not a women's design today. And you're going to line it up on top of the croquis figure, making sure that the shoulders are lined up nice and flush, that the armhole seams that you drew originally are over top of the armhole seams on the sleeve, on the body croquis figure. If by any chance something looks odd to you, you can take the black arrow and squeeze it in a little bit more if you find that your body CAD fits like that on one side. If you need to squeeze it in, you can do that with the scaling tools using the black arrow. But it should already be a good fit because you drew it on CAD number 2. So now that we have this body, we are going to object lock selection, because I want to draw something new over top of this body. So our croquis figure is locked on layer 2, and then everything else is drawn on layer 1. And this now is this body shape that we have here is locked as well. So the first thing we're going to do is draw what's called the collar stand. So I'm just going to zoom back up to show you what that is. So that's this little piece right here. And actually what it does is it wraps all the way around the neck, but it's hidden underneath this top collar, as you can see. So when the top collar is folded down like here, you won't see the collar stand. The only bit of the collar stand you'll see is right here, but it does actually exist underneath this collar, and it wraps all the way around. Okay, so we need to draw that on our croquis figure. I'm going to use the pen tool to do this, and this is what the shape looks like. We're going to draw half a body shape, as you can see. We're going to use a pop color, and we're going to draw pretty much right here. Okay, so that's where it's going to be lined up. So no fill color with a stroke color. Double click on your color, stroke color, pick another color somewhere in the color picker window. Not green, not black. Just make sure it's a color that you can see really easily. I picked red. Okay, and then make sure you get back to the pen tool and you start to draw. So let me just show you that this is the vector points you're going to be working with here. So you got 1, we're going to start here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 2 curved lines, one at the bottom and one at the top, and then a straight line right here. Okay, So that's what we're aiming to do. So let's take the pen tool, make sure there's no fill in your fill box, only a stroke color, and we're gonna literally draw over top of this exact neckline, starting at the center front line, that vertical line that runs through the croquis figure. Click one point. This is a curve line, you guys, so click the second point, but don't let go of the mouse. Click and hold and bend. And the motion that I'm doing with the mouse right now to bend downward is I'm pushing the mouse up in front of me. And do it very slow. Don't do it super fast when you're making curve lines. I really highly recommend, especially for beginners, you do very slow movement so you can see when I move my mouse up, where does it go? Where does it go when I move left? And then just let go. Release, go to a black arrow or one of the arrows to release. Remember, you got your white arrow. To always manipulate more, if you need to pull on a curve handle, you click on the white arrow. If you need to move a vector point, you don't have to feel like you're a perfect drawer the first time you draw with the pen tool. You can always fix it later with the white arrow. Okay, so now we're going to take the pen tool, hover over that last point we just left off at, and when the minus sign appears next to that X icon, you're going to click on it. And then you're going to go up this side of his neck right here. So this is just a straight line. So you just click. And then we're going to end up back at the center front line above where we started, but we're going to do the same exact curve as you see here, but up here on the top. So we're going to click down here once, but don't let go, curve line, click and hold and bend. And this time I'm moving the mouse towards the right of my, right of me. And that's giving me the curve you see here. And then release the tool, go to one of arrows to release. Now remember, we can always fix it if you drew it a little funny, but the goal is to have this curve line down at the bottom and this curve line here at the top to kind of mimic the same look, the same kind of curve, nice fluid curve. That's the goal. Okay, so once you have that half a drawing, you're going to select it with the black arrow, copy and paste, Command C, Command V, do an object transform, reflect vertical, and then you're going to bring it up, line it up. But you know what I want you to do, even though this looks weird right now, just pull it off to the side, because I want to make sure we got gaps. We need a little gap to show us where our two halves don't overlap it like this. You need to join your points. So let's just pull it away for a second so we can see little gaps in between our two red halves. And then we're going to hold shift and select both half of our drawings using the black arrow. We're going to go to the window align. Window align, let's just make sure it's aligned to either the top or the bottom. Let's align to the bottom for right now. That makes sure we have a nice flush edge. And now you're going to do a right-click join, and that joins both your top half of the collar and the bottom half of the collar. This is actually called the collar stand, sorry. So the top and bottom of the collar stand. Now, if you notice that now it doesn't look like it fits over here, because I purposely moved it away a little bit so I could get those gaps in between my points to make sure I join them right. All you have to do is take the black arrow, here I am on the black arrow, and you're just going to use the little scaling boxes and pull from the corner, and you're just going to pull in until this, my red collar meets nice and flush against the black shoulder line. So here I am in my body figure. My body template that I drew on CAD number 2 that we're using has the black stroke line that indicates the shoulder. I need to make sure my collar stand edge right here is nice and flush against the sides of the shoulder. Okay, so this is my collar stand. Now once you have that, we are going to draw our collar over top of it. So just to give you a look of what that looks like, we're going to have this is my collar stand. These are my top collars that you just saw in the picture I showed you up close a minute ago. So we're going to draw that over top, and for the moment you're going to see through it, but we are going to ultimately, after we do this top collar shape, we are going to fill this with white so that it covers up that collar stand and it looks like this, where it only reveals the collar stand just a little bit, but that you need to fill that in with white, with a white fill, in order to get that look. Okay, so actually let me copy and paste my collar and put it over here so you can see, and we can talk about the vector points and how many there are and where I started and all that fun stuff. Okay, so here's my collar, and actually now that I drew a new collar stand, it doesn't quite fit, so let me just fit it a little bit better, because the one I drew earlier was different than what I have here. Okay, So this is what you want your what's called your top pointed collar to look like. So when we draw it, it's made up of 4 vector points. So I'm highlighting it with the white arrow so you can see your points. We're going to start right here actually at the center front line. We always start at center front line on our half of drawings, and we're going to do 1 point to 1 point here, and it's actually going to be on an angle, but it's not a curve line, so you just go click click. Then from here to here for where the shoulder is, this is going to be your curve line right here, and it's going to be a very subtle curve. So you're going to click and hold and bend, and then from here to here, this point is a straight line, even though it's on an angle, but you just draw it as a straight line. And then another point connects back to the last point, and that's a curve line. Okay, so 2 curves, 2 straight lines, and let's get started. I'm going to use a different pop color. So I chose, double click, find another color, hit OK. Make sure there's no fill in your fill box, no fill color in your fill box. We're going to zoom in. I'm going to take the pen, and I'm going to start right up the top of the collar stand. Remember, this red piece is called the collar stand. I'm going to start right here, but at the center front line. I'm going to click a point, and if you're not sure and you unsure about drawing one thing over the other, you can always do an object lock selection on the collar stand so that you don't accidentally mess it up. Especially for my beginning students, that would be a good idea. So click, actually let me double check my color. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to click a point right there is where I start, and I'm going to go out to here roughly, and we can always fix it later, but let's just start right there on an angle. So just click click, and then we go here to the shoulder line. We're going to do a curve line, so you're going to click and hold and bend, and this time my mouse is going towards the left very subtly and up. I'm pushing it up and to the left. Okay, release. Take the pen tool, hover over that last point until the minus sign appears, means you're joining back onto an existing point. So we want to make sure this collar shape is a whole shape that has join points as we draw. So then the next point is kind of up here on the neck. So this collar wraps around the neck. So we're going to go a little high on the neck, and it's just click, click, no curve line there. And then we're going to go hover over that first point you just started at. And this is going to allow you to close your shape, where all the vector points are closed shape. You're going to hover over that first point you just started at, and until the little circle appears. Once the little circle appears, that means you click on it, and then you're going to click and hold and bend and do a curve line. And you're joining your points as you're drawing when you wait for that little circle to appear on the pen tool. So this is kind of the shape roughly that it's going to look like. And it's made up of 4 vector points, and remember, you got your white arrow to manipulate further if you need to. The goal of this curve line here is not to be super curvy. This one's a little bit more curvy because it wraps around the neck, but you need to make sure that it looks like it's actually hugging the green neck, and then it's hanging off the shoulder a little bit. It's not flush edge right here. This is the vector point I'm showing you. This is your shoulder line, the black. CAD is your shoulder line, and this top collar is gonna actually extend a little bit above it because the collar folds down over top of the shoulder. So once you have that same thing, we're gonna take the black arrow, copy and paste. This is our half, object transform, reflect vertical, hit OK, and then you're just gonna line it up. We are not joining points on these 2 shapes because they are separate shapes, and that's what we want them to be. They're separate joined shapes within themselves. So we're not joining any points on this half, so it is a little bit different than most half of drawings that way. So you're just going to line it up kind of roughly about here, and then just make sure that your collar shape is looks like it's hugging around the neck, and then it's overlapping the collar stand, as you can see there. Okay. So once you have that, we are at a point where we actually can take the flat CAD that you just drew and take it off the figure. We don't need to reference the anatomy anymore, so we're going to now object unlock all, because remember, you locked the collar stand, you locked the body template, you locked the collar. So we need to just make sure that we can unlock all, and that we can grab it with the black arrow. So you're going to hover over the whole entire drawing and make sure that that croquis figure is on layer 2 and locked, or else you're going to grab the croquis figure with you. We only want to grab just this. That's all we want to grab with the black arrow. So you're going to grab that, and then you're going to work with just this. Okay. Okay, so you can see that I have it here. This is what we pulled off of the croquis figure, and we have this shape. Now what I want to do is turn it into what you see here. So we're actually going to change the stroke color of that collar stand, and we're also going to fill this top collar, top pointed collar with white, so that we can cover over and not see the collar, the red collar stand through it anymore. Okay, so let's just quickly, we can change the stroke color. Even this is a good place where you can actually change the stroke color to black, because ultimately all of our flat cads need to have black stroke outline. You can do a select color, same stroke color, and then you can tell it to go to window color, and then you can find your black and white chip, make sure your stroke box is on top, and then you can click on black. Okay, or just another way to show you is you can click on your red collar shape, and you can take the eyedropper tool, and the eyedropper tool is literally like a copy tool, so it copies anything you eyedrop on. So you have to select something first and then tell the eyedropper, what do I want to copy, and you can click right here on the black stroke outline that already exists in your body CAD, and that's just another way to get the same color stroke line and the same stroke width is by using the eyedropper tool. So that's a great way. Okay, so now you're going to click on both collar shapes using the black arrow. So click on one, hold shift and then shift key, and then click on the other. Allows you to select both shapes at the same time. You can see right now there's a no fill color in my fill box. If I click on the fill box, this window color box should come up. If it doesn't, all you have to do is go to window color and find it, and it always has the black and white chip that we like to have at easy access to. So you're going to click on it, click on the white chip, and now I have a white fill in my fill box. You can see my top collar is filled with white, and now my collar stand is also black, and then we're good to go, and we have it lined up like that. So that's where you're at for right now if you're following along step by step. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the hemline. So let me just show you real quick up here. All the hemlines, I'm not going to say all, most hemlines on a traditional menswear and women's wear woven shirt have what's called a shirt tail hem, which is this curved hem. There is a new trend right now going on with straight hems, but traditional woven shirt styling has what's called a shirt tail hem. So that's what we're going to draw. And right now, because we used the CAD template from CAD number 2, the designer zip hoodie, we had a straight hem on that, right? So we need to now turn that into a shirt tail hem, which you can see down here is what we're going to do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to copy and paste this for me, but you guys use the same drawing. And we are going to change the hem. So what I'm going to do that is I'm going to delete off the bottom hem completely. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and then I'm going to take the white arrow, just the white arrow, not the black arrow. White arrow selects individual points, and all I want to do is select the individual vector points that make up this bottom straight hem. I'm going to click on one of the points and hit delete, click on this other point at the end and hit delete, and that's it. I'm not going to stop hitting delete, because if I hit delete anymore, it's going to delete the rest of my body shape. And the rest of my body shape, like the shoulders, the sleeves, and the sides, they still apply. So I don't want to get rid of those details, okay? So then once I have that, what we're going to do is draw a shape like this. This is what it looks like when it's loose. So I recommend that we draw it loose to start, and then we connect it to the body afterwards. So the body shape is going to be made up of curved lines. So it's going to connect at the side here, but it's going to be made up of 2 other vector points, and it goes from one curve to the next curve. So that's what we're doing here. So just to roughly draw it here, we're not going to use the actually we are going to bring it back to the croquis figure. I apologize. So we're going to bring it back to the croquis figure now. Grab my body shape. Now that I deleted off the hem, we're going to bring it back to the croquis figure just to reference the anatomy on where that bottom hem goes. And as you can see on this guy right here, it's lower in the center, and look, it's higher up here by his side. But if you see the bottom center point, and even with this guy here, is kind of at crotch level. So if you can kind of picture where that is on the croquis figure, that's where our lowest part of the shirt tail hem is going to appear. Okay, so now we have our back on our croquis figure. Make sure everything's lined up at the shoulders. Actually do an object group on everything, so when you bring it over and you move it around the page back and forth, it grabs everything including the collar. And now what you're going to do is you're just going to raise up the sides. So you're going to take the white arrow and just take one of the vector points and bring it up a little higher. And I would say maybe bring it up to where this like green underwear line is on both sides. And you know what you can actually do? You can click on both of them at the same time holding shift, but make sure you're using a white arrow to do this. And you can take your arrow keys on your keyboard and just go up with the up arrow on your keyboard, and you can take both sides of the shirt up at the same time. Okay. So now what we're going to draw, I'm going to say that you should draw this loosely because it'll be a lot easier, especially for beginning students. We are going to start actually not at the center front. I'm going to start here at the side, but I'm not going to connect to anything. So I'm going to take the pen tool and no fill with a black stroke, and I'm going to click right here, kind of edge where that is, and I'm going to do 3 vector points. Click, click, bend, and hold. I'm going to bend upward, and when I bend upward, I pull the mouse down towards me. And then I'm going to go curve to curve. So I'm not going to release. I'm going to go right here at the center front line, like almost to the bottom of his crotch, but maybe a little bit higher up. And I'm going to click and hold and bend. This time I'm moving the mouse towards the right of me, and I'm bending very slowly, slow movements, and then release your tool. And this definitely, nobody's going to draw this nice and smooth the first time, I'm guaranteed, and that is completely okay. So let's take our white arrow and do some subtle manipulations with the curve handles, and the goal is just to make sure that you have a nice smooth curve right here. So right where this line here at the bottom of the hem is, make sure that there's no like that or like this. Make sure it's nice and subtle curve, and that at this area right here is a little bit flat and straight, because when you join these two sides, we're going to do one half, a copy and paste, put it on the other. You should make sure that this is nice and flush and flat right in this section, and then the curve starts like up here and then goes up. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking at for our half of a shirt tail hem. So let's copy and paste it with the black arrow selected, copy and paste, Command C, Command V, object transform, reflect, half a drawing, vertical, reflect vertical, hit OK. Here we are with our other half a drawing, and I know normally you use a pop color for this, so let me just change that real quick so you can see it a little bit better over the croquis figure. Okay. This is my 2 halves of my what's now called my shirt tail hem. And this is what I'm talking about this area right here in the center. I just want to make sure that everything's nice and flush and straight, because when you join these 2 points here, you don't want any kind of things poking up or things poking down when you join the 2. So now I'm actually going to click on one point, hold shift, and click on the other point at the end of this line using the white arrow. I'm going to do a Command J, because if I did a right click join, that might work, but I just did a Command J on that, and that's just another way to join points. Make sure that when you join the points, that again you're moving, that it's a nice flush area where the points are directly straight. So I might need to move, like if they join and they're like this, take the white arrow and just move that one point to make sure that this little line segment of the 2 points is a very straight horizontal line. Okay, so now that I have my shirt tail hem, and this is roughly where it is, you can see on the body where I drew it, I'm just going to connect it on the sides here, on the side to connect it to the shirt. So I'm going to just make sure that it's there. Oh, and also if you did the half a drawing and see on this side it's a little short, because you want the edge of the shirt tail hem to be directly under the sides of the shirt, all you have to do is just take the vector point, take the white arrow, move the vector point, and just make sure that it's just directly under, because you don't want, you want your sides to still appear very straight when you join the shirt tail hem to the sides of the shirt that you already had drawn. Okay. So now you can click on one point, hold shift, click on the other, and I'm connecting these 2 points together, and you can do a right click join there. Oh, it turned it red. Look at that. Okay, maybe if I do 1 point here to 1 point there, oh, it still turned it red. Well, you know what? That's all right. If that happened, we can always turn it back to black. That's totally fine. Okay, so I have my whole body shape is black again because you definitely do not want your flat CADs to have anything other than a black stroke outline. And here's where I want to draw attention to. Here's the sides when we connected and joined. See how the side is kind of poking out? I need to make sure that everything's nice and straight. This line should be perfectly straight even though it's got this extra vector point here. So zoom in real good. Here's our zoom tool, or you can do a command plus or command plus, and that will zoom in. And the same thing, like if it looks like this or if it looks like this, once you join the hemline to the sides of the garment, take the white arrow, move that vector point, and make sure you got a nice straight flush vertical line on the sides. We definitely don't want anything poking out on the sides of our shirt. Okay, so we got through that part. Now we got this. This is our completed body with the rounded shirt tail hem. And now what we're going to do is add the center front placket. So you're going to add that by using something called the rectangle tool. So basically this is where you're at. And actually let me take that off too. And you're going to add those two pieces. So you're going to use something called the rectangle tool right here. It's underneath the letter T on a double toolbar right there. Click on it. Make sure that you have a no fill and only a stroke color in your stroke box. And I'm just going to draw it with another color for you guys so you can see it. And I'm just going to take this straight down, click and drag it straight down from where you see me drawing. So I'm drawing right from the bottom of the collar stand. This is our collar stand right here. I drew the rectangle. I started there and I clicked and dragged all the way down to the center of the hem right here. Right, so that's right, and make sure it's not drawn past the drawing. The boundaries of the drawing are the black stroke outline of the body, so everything's got to exist inside of those boundaries. Nothing just exists outside. Okay, so the goal of the center front placket is wherever all of our buttons go, so it needs to be centered. If you need help, you can go over to the croquis figure and put it back on here, draw it on here if you like, so that you can reference the center front line if that helps you in any way. And you can center that rectangle right in the middle with the black stroke outline, black center front line directly in the center. That's fine. Or anybody that's feeling a little bit more skilled can pull it off the croquis figure and just work with it like this. But basically the goal is to have it right through the center. Now this part here, and let me just go right back up to show you this is what we're drawing. We drew the center front placket. We're going to add buttons in a different video, but then we're going to draw this area right here. So this is our collar stand. We already drew that. But what we don't have is this little curved edge. So this is where the shirt opens. This whole placket opens and unbuttons. We need to draw this little curved edge at the end of our collar stand. And that I'm going to draw as a loose piece. And you can see it here. So I drew it right here. And I put it right there. So basically it's just a curved line. It's a loose piece. It's got no stroke color, only a fill, so no fill color, only a stroke color. And it's made up of 3 vector points here. So you just draw it. So let's just do that real quick. Take the pen tool, click on the edge of the top where the collar placket is. Click and draw a vector, 2 vector points with a subtle curve. So click, click, hold and bend. Click, click, hold and bend. And that's what our curve line looks like. And this is kind of where it exists. And remember, you got your white arrow as your helpful tool if you need to manipulate. So this is basically up close where it needs to be. This line here needs to be nice and flush edge with the edge of the placket line, and then it needs to just curve up like that. And then don't worry that you see this poking out above the collar, because we're going to change all this stroke line to be black. Ooh. Window color, did it wrong, there we go. All right, and I know my collar is still blue, but that's fine because I'll change that at the end. So that's where you want your placket to be, okay? And you got your placket, and now you got your collar stand edge. Now we're just going to quickly add a couple details here. We need to draw the back collar, and basically the back collar here, it just looks like this. This is how many vector points are in it. There's 4. There's two curve lines. Right here is a curve, and right here is a very subtle curve, and then two straight lines here. Even though they're on an angle, they are straight. And I'm going to draw that with we don't need the croquis figure at all now, you guys, so definitely take it off because that croquis figure has a head. And this is the back collar that we're drawing. You're going to see it through the front because remember, in a flat hat, you don't have a head here or a neck to cover that up. This collar wraps around all the way around his head, so you're going to see the back collar coming through. So no fill color, only a stroke color. Take the pen tool, and what we're going to do, and if you want to lock your drawing, I would highly suggest that you grab on it and do an object lock selection so you don't mess up the collars that you just drew. And what you're just going to draw here is you're going to go straight up the side here, one point to another point, then you're going to go all the way over here. This is a curve, so click, click, hold, and bend, and you're going to move the mouse towards the right a little bit for a very subtle curve. Then you're going to click, hover over that last point until the minus sign appears, click on it, go down again over by the collar, click down, and then you're going to click all the way over to connect to the last point, but you're going to wait for that little circle to appear before you connect. And then remember, this is a curved line, so not only you're waiting for the circle, you're going to click and hold and not let go of your mouse, and you're going to do a curved line. And even if it looks crazy, remember we got our white arrows. So I know, especially for beginning students, it's going to be a harder thing to draw is those curved lines. They get very difficult for some beginners to master at first, but you will. And just know that the white arrow is your friend, and you can always use it to make things look nice, even if you didn't draw nice the first time. So this is roughly what our back collar looks like, and this is where it's kind of drawn over the front collar. And you're just going to object arrange, send it to the back. So right now, this is what we need to look like, right? So this is the back collar actually here. And you can see it's actually hiding behind the front collar, and that's what we want because it needs to be behind it. So you're going to do an object arrange, send to back. And now you can see, because my front collar here, the top, this collar, oh, I locked it. Object unlock all. So remember, if you locked anything, you have to unlock it in order to grab your drawing again. So take the black arrow, and you can see because I filled this top collar here, this is my front collar, with white in the fill box, it now covers up that detail here that is in the back collar. It hides it because it has a fill with white and you don't see it anymore. Okay, so now we need to add just a solid stroke line right here, just a loose piece right about here, only made up of a vector of points, 2 points, 1 point there, 1 point there. Hold the shift key when you draw it, so click 1 point with the pen tool, hold the shift key and go straight across, click there, and that's where it belongs. This is the collar stand that you see here in the front. Remember I told you it actually wraps around the head underneath this collar. So this is now the inside view of that collar stand from the back, right? Because this is the inside of the shirt. This is actually the back of the shirt showing through the front. Because the front dips down really low, you see some of the inside of the shirt visible. And you can see that really easily here. So this is what I'm talking about. You can see some of that back collar. You can see the collar stand and everything, and the inside neck showing through when it's laying flat. So add that little collar stand line, that little loose piece, and remember, make sure it doesn't have a fill color, only a stroke color. Now you're going to add, here you can see in red, I have a forward shoulder seam on both sides, and I have 2 cuff seams. So we're going to add that, and those are just straight loose piece lines, nothing, you're not joining to any shape, you're literally just drawing 2 stroke lines here. So you're just going to draw one, we're going to draw one here, click, click, and make sure it's at the same angle as the shoulder line. No fill in my fill box, only a stroke color. And then once I have one, copy and paste, I need object transform reflect to get to the other side, reflect vertical, hit OK, and then place it in the same place up here, okay? So that's our forward shoulder seams. All woven shirts have a forward shoulder seam. And then you're going to draw a cuff seam, which is going to follow the same angle as the bottom hem of the cuff. So you can see we're a little bit angled here. You're going to draw the same thing, loose piece, no fill, only a stroke color, and you're going to draw a couple inches above the bottom sleeve seam right here and follow the same angle. Make sure that the sides are touching. here and here, don't have any gaps. Okay, and then you're going to copy and paste it with, use the black arrow, copy and paste it, object transform, reflect it, bring it over to the other side. Okay, now what we're going to do is just add stitching. This is where all your stitching goes. These are the places where all your stitching goes. So what I want you to do is just draw the stitching, and you can reference the CAD that's saved, the finished CAD that's saved for your visual reference on where the stitching goes. But you're literally just going to draw all the stitching, and I'm just going to do one right here, but I'm not going to draw it all with you. Take the pen tool, just make sure there's a no fill and a stroke color only, and you're now working with black. Everything should be black at this point, no colored lines. And you're just going to click, and then you're going to, oh, see, that's perfect. This has a curve line, so you need to mimic that curve line. Click and hold. And even if you don't have, if your line looks like this, where it looks like a straight solid line, doesn't look like top stitching, remember you can either go to window stroke and click on your dash line and make it top stitching, or you can take the eyedropper tool, and because you already have stitching here on the armhole that came with the front, with oh, we didn't add stitching. Sorry. You're going to actually have to create stitching on this one. I forgot that we didn't have it already existing. So you're going to click on dash line, make sure your stroke is 0.25 points and your dash numbers are 2 point with a 1 point gap. That's for all the stitching that is on this body. So follow this sketch for all the stitching. You're going to draw it inside the areas that you see, stitching here on the forward shoulder, on stitching on the collar, stitching on the collar stand, the placket, 2 armholes, inside collar stand, and then all the way down the placket, stitching here, single needle stitching on the sleeve cuff and inside the parameters you see, and then you're going to also draw that hem stitching again here. Now, good rule of thumb is if you drew this, remember we started off drawing that shirt tail hem with a half. I forgot earlier, if you want to keep that half available, or if you want to keep the whole hem available before we turned it in, before we connected it to the body, that would be great, because if you keep a loose piece here before you connect it to the body, you can just copy and paste it and then turn it into stitching later, and it already has the same exact hem shape that you just drew. So that's a good little helpful tip to do, if is turn that hemline before you connect it to the sides, to turn it into stitching and save a copy for the end. So this is where all your stitching goes, and then the next lesson you'll watch is how to add the buttons.